So if you were interested in pursuing that after this, then you can take that step. So it looks to me like I had sent you some, you're probably the only person here who has not been involved in these discussions before. So I had sent you the information on the Fitzpatrick letter, the environmental assessment, some of that kind of stuff. And so did that raise any questions that you'd like to bring up or about what we've been seeing? And Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
Yes. Yep. That way it actually gets
For the benefit
broadcast to people.
of everyone here, I saw that there was a committee of this nature, and I've lived in the community here since 1998. I have a commercial pilot's license that I obtained locally when Buell Field was here. And I actually took the commercial test at the Trenton Airport. Having that background, I thought that I might be able to make a contribution, but I need to learn more about what the issues are and what the mission is of this group.
The mission is really to, there's concern about the growth of the airport. It's not an objection to the airport per se. They have a growth plan that will dwarf the amount of flights we have now. Okay, so they will have a lot more flights going. And the thing is, when they went through the process, they put forth an environmental assessment that explained that the $200 million, $300 million project they were going to do over there was not going to lead to any growth in airport traffic. So therefore, they didn't need to consider environmental effects. It was just not true. They're, of course, doing this project to try to grow the airport and the airport traffic. So that's what was objected to, was that they had not done an appropriate kind of environmental analysis or an impact study to say what's the effect of the growth they're going to do on the noise corridors and the environmental and pollution effects for the residents. And so that was pushed back on by our congressman. That's why you saw the letter that he had there, talking about the growth they were going through and that it was disingenuous for the FAA to accept that report. The FAA rejected his arguments and rubber stamped the report that they had helped craft with the airport. And so that was really kind of the start of this. And then the dissension about the airport growth grew as we learned of the PFAS chemical contamination. They're right next to a Superfund site. They're excavating on ground where there has been known contaminants. And so our concern has been, how is that going to be handled? They're issuing permits before the studies are done about where the pollutants are and how it's going to be mitigated. But the New Jersey DEP is issuing permits for going ahead with the project, even though those plans are not due out for till 2026 or later. So there's a lot to object to about that. And then more recently, the flight school has been undergoing a dramatic growth, and that has led to a number of residents on both sides of the river complaining because they're getting buzzed a lot, hundreds of flights a day, 300 flights or more a day, that they're going up and down the river and are disturbing people who've come in and been complaining about it. And so that's almost the newest aspect of this that's going on. But so that's sort of where it's come from. So our purpose is to be aware of what projects are going on. I sent you the briefing from last February that showed they were opening a new commercial, the Sky Harbor terminal, which was going to add more traffic here. They're pushing that. The flight school is growing. And there were a couple other items in that briefing that we were concerned with that we thought were signs that the airport had plans for other kinds of expansion that were more than just expanding the terminal building. So we aim to try to keep the Board of Supervisors informed, the public informed, bring focus to people's activities. We've gotten the township to approach Mercer County. We've gotten state senator involved, state rep involved, federal reps involved. And so we're trying to, bring our concerns to the right ears that can be put forward. We're also trying to coordinate with New Jersey people because they're usually less aware of these problems than we are on the PA side, believe it or not. So the fact that they're not aware of these things means we need them, to become better educated. And we're hoping now that this, the WHYY article will maybe catch the interest of more people. So did anybody see that come out? Okay. All right. So they mostly focused on the PFAS issue and the contaminants and the fact that the lack of transparency in the process of how they're handling the mitigation strategy and sort of how is that whole naval facility excavated now? And we don't know anything about it. So I forwarded that article on to Fitzpatrick's office and asked them, could they explain why the DOD site, could they find out more information about the DOD site? Because Zoe was unable to get any clear answers on some of those things. And it'd be nice if our congressman could help us find out how did that get approved, that that whole area has been excavated now, which it sounds like it's been stopped, according to some folks we talked to in New Jersey. So we don't know the status of the whole project, but we also, the questions we ask, we just can't get answered. So that's one of the things we're still trying to pursue. Doug, the reason we're concerned about the PFAS is because if it's excavated there and they know it's known to be in some locations in the groundwater there. If it gets excavated, it can come down the tributaries and go right to the Delaware. Okay. And our water intake is downstream from the airport, as is the intake for a lot of people, obviously down the Delaware. So the fact that we're not getting clear answers on that is what's raised the issue to us that we're trying on multiple fronts to find out more about. Let's see. So we had inputs from New Jersey residents. They asked to understand the briefing that we had presented to the Board of Supervisors. And so I went over and just met with some people and showed them what we had given to the supervisors in the way of update on these different projects and things. They have concerns, particularly about the little planes. They feel like they're buzzing their house. It's just, and they just don't have any answers when they talk to the flight school. He tells them they shouldn't have moved there. And it's like, well, we've lived here for decades and you've gone from 4 planes to 50 planes. And this is the change that we're concerned with. It's not because we moved here. Yeah, but so the flight school's been very unreceptive. Judy, do you have any other comments on? Not on the flight school, okay. So some of the New Jersey folks have been trying to talk to them, and the flight schools basically just told them it's none of their business. So what we would like to do is develop a series of questions regarding steps that could be taken, putting mufflers on the planes or changing up the flight paths so they're not all taking the same thing. There's some steps we would like to take that we think could be benefit to the community and either distribute the noise, lessen the noise through something like a muffler. But we have a very unsympathetic owner of the facility over there. And so how to approach that is something we've been trying to figure out. But I think what we're going to need is to have more and more New Jersey residents going to their commissioners and expressing their concerns that, what is going on with this and why is it this kind of growth in the small planes? Our understanding is we just need to talk to the airport manager if we have suggestions, and that's why we've been digging into the federal regulations and what controls are there that an airport manager could take that would be something for, along the noise mitigation lines. You want to mention the website or
Yeah,
sources you've been looking at?
yeah. Well, we talked with somebody, I think you remember we talked with Rick last couple meetings. He recommended we talk with somebody. I called him on the phone and met with him and his supervisor, and they basically said it's the airport manager that controls what we all know. And, but what they did say is that there's the Flight Standard District Office, FSDO is what they called it, which I'd never heard of before. And that is all the airport standards. It has environmental standards, got noise standards, it's got construction, traffic, all those sorts of things. It's a wealth of information on the web. So what I did is I looked it up. As it turns out, doesn't matter if you're in Bucks County or in Mercer County, it's the same Flight Standards Data Office in Philadelphia. So I basically printed out what I thought were relevant noise information for people to make copies of or take pictures on your phone so you could look up these websites. But basically, it's kind of a laundry list of noise, exposure, compatibility, and FAA policy. Okay, now what I did find is that there's an FAA aviation noise omnibudsman who specifically will answer public questions that people are not getting satisfaction through the airport or the airport manager. They're very clear in that they won't resolve individual issues, but what they will do is they'll consolidate a whole bunch of complaints or they'll trend complaint information and look for areas where they can improve, I don't know, noise control, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I've got that information here. You can send individual information via to the ombudsman via the website. I've got that link here. I've got the information that you're going to be required to ask. That's here too. And I've got a little pictorial noise complaint process for the FDA. So I'll lay it out on the table. If you want to take pictures, take it home, print it out yourself, or the links are all here so you can physically go on the website yourself and look at that stuff too. But it's clear that the FDA won't do more than just trend information and look for things that they can improve on the wide scale rather than answer each individual noise complaint. Okay, and
so getting more noise complaints to them
yeah,
is pretty critical.
yes, because they'll look at where they are, that, they'll,
You mentioned the airport manager controls.
yes.
Is he appointed? Is he selected? Is he,
Oh, I don't know.
because we have an election coming up in Jersey.
Okay,
We have a Democratic candidate, a Republican candidate.
yeah,
And if it's controlled by the particular party who's in power in the county,
yeah,
or is it at the higher levels, then maybe we're trying to put some pressure or get some answers from the candidates, what their position would be, and see if they would support something, if their local constituents
right,
would support. So I just, if he's appointed by the commissioners, that's one thing, but does he need ratification from, the Assembly, the Senate? That would be something that we could look into if we could.
yeah. If that's, I don't know how they appoint airport managers,
Okay.
so I'm on the military side of the aviation. So that's what I found, and I'll make this all available to you if you want.
That's great. Thank you, Steve. I'm just making some notes here.
Yeah.
When you mention that we get a lot of noise complaints, are they from Lower Makefield residents? Are they, okay?
Yeah, when the stories of the airport growth came out and the grassroots organizations that have done this kind of thing before got the word out, and they basically filled this room for the supervisors complaining about this, what's going on, what's happening. And that's when they decided to make a panel and to look into the facts and come back and tell them the facts and let them make, we can make recommendations, but it's up to them to decide what they want to do about it. So there are enough people that are influenced by it that, yeah, we had quite a turnout to.
Okay, great. Are there statistics, or do we have a map of where they are? Are they everywhere? Are they in a certain area? You can't ask the airport to stop flying, but
Right.
we can, if there's an area, we might be able to
Mhm.
say something.
Well, Rob had come up with a bunch of really strong recommendations about noise mitigation as a pilot.
Yeah. It will be implemented through the Part 150 process, but yes, I've phone noise abatement procedures all over the world, and there are definitely some they could apply in Trenton. They've got them in Atlantic City, they got them in Newark, they got them in Philly, LaGuardia, John Lane, pretty much everywhere.
Not here?
Just not Trenton, and all the airport authority has to do is agree to the process, which is voluntary. The recommendations are voluntary. The funding is over 90% federal funding. There's really nothing to lose, and in our group, the rest of the federal work, since we stood up, which was how long have we been at this?
2017.
2017. Since then, we've been trying to get them to implement the Part 150 process. But the worst thing is, there's nothing at risk if they didn't like a recommendation. They can.
Yeah.
And that could apply towards, 141 school or 121 operation, medical operation, or across the board. What you have out there about the market is a sign. That's not actually a big sign.
Mhm.
Okay,
We do
well,
that.
again, new guy, so dumb questions, I hope are permitted.
Oh, no.
If they're teaching people to become airline pilots, which is, I guess, their purpose,
Yeah.
they gotta be teaching them noise abatement procedures right
Well-
out of the gate. They gotta be teaching them to take off, gain
The pilot's
altitude.
gonna execute the procedure.
Yeah,
It's not hard. If Philly is like a 20-degree left turn.
right, over
Right?
over the river.
Over the river, if you're departing west.
Mhm.
It's, that specifically doesn't need to be applied. Well, a 20-degree left turn and departure is not applied. And certainly Trenton. Right. But, for the initial time frame. We can't even get to that point. They won't even meet to us. I mean, we've gone down to the Mercer County. Stakeholders, they've been nonsense in their meetings. Like it's super.
Dan Benson. Dan Benson.
And they'll have them say from the side.
Right. So our, one of our supervisors had gone over and finally got a meeting with the Mercer County executive. Okay, and so they had a conversation and they talked about these different issues and, what was holding them up from responding on these different things. It was at least a conversation, but it didn't resolve anything, that's for sure. And he also said the flight school is off limits. He said, we love the flight school. That's what we want here. And the fact that it's expanded so enormously, he is just thrilled with. And so that's going to take more pressure from New Jersey residents that are saying, hey, this is a problem or this is bothering us. So Joe just saw found online that Brian Hughes, who used to be the executive, appointed Belinda, or Melissa, was it Montgomery? Yeah, okay, as the airport manager. So it sounds like it is a political appointment by the executive. At least it was in that case.
How did that, for the big or 1.1, the one of the bank does. The bottom line.
Oh, no.
A 20-degree right turn on Parker if you're on that runway is such a non-event, right?
Well-
And, and part of the process would be to evaluate all the traffic directions, all the runways, all the impact. And come up with a plan. That's.
Totally. But, I've also heard the word buzzing here.
So I'm on. And you just get flight radar 24 on your phone.
Right.
Legal.
So,
Chris,
Legal might be lower than you want, but.
Chris, how low have you seen the flights? Have you been watching those?
Yeah.
Can you come up to the mic? I'm sorry. Because people are watching that and seeing, flights way lower than they'd like, not buzzing their houses, but.
But the runway, look at zero APL, so you gotta descend to the runway, right? So
Mhm.
you're below 500 feet, no matter what. So if your house is that close, yeah.
Mhm.
So 500 feet from the ground.
Yeah, I know, if you look on, I think it's airnav.com, it says that one of the noise abatement is they shouldn't turn before 1,200 feet. And, they don't abide by that. And, in terms of, I guess in looking, it seems like they don't abide by many things. Say, for example, they have this nighttime curfew and they have a website where they're supposed to update how often they, somebody doesn't abide by that. It hasn't been updated since June 23rd. In terms of any complaints that you file, you never get any feedback from them. So they just ignore it. And in terms of the flight path, it's great when, when we have cloudy and rainy weather now and they don't fly. But when it's sunny, it just seems, especially if there's been a period, like if a few days without flights, as soon as the sun comes out and the sky's clear, every 5 minutes a flight is going out. So it's pretty amazing. And they just don't have any guardrails. So the big thing is, you would think that at some point they should have some guardrails and there should be some rules in place. It seems like if they could, use more of the runway and get to cruising altitude before they make it to Pennsylvania, that would be great. Because it seems like in some cases, it's like they get to the river, they get to Pennsylvania, and then they turn and go north, as soon as they cross into Pennsylvania. I don't know, it's just anecdotal evidence, but it just, could be. Right. Well, I mean, you can hear them when they cross the river. And I don't know if the river reflects. I think I looked into that. It seems like the river might reflect the sound. It doesn't absorb it, like maybe some of the areas that are, have the trees that could dampen the sound. So you definitely hear it that. And then depending upon what their training ground is, that I hear one of the training grounds is around New Hope, above New Hope in Flemington. So they're basically crossing the river and then heading north along the river and going that way. And that way, definitely since I live in the northern part of the township, it impacts me when they do that, when they go. No, no, no. Yeah, basically, yeah, they aren't at 500 feet, but, you can still hear it because it's the single prop. It varies. Usually I would say probably around 1,300. Yeah, but I mean, I look at some and they actually can make it, they can, before they cross the river, that they could make it to like 1,400 feet. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like they, pardon? Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like they don't use the majority of the runway. I guess they look like they get to the end before they're, getting much altitude. You just wonder if there's some guidance they could have in order to climb faster, climb higher before they, before they get over to Pennsylvania, just because,
Well, anything if they do, would be keep it
mm,
that's one.
yeah. The other thing is that you notice when you look at the app and you can see, sort of who is the owner of the airplanes, and if Infinity owns a lot of the airplanes, but it seems like they probably lease some of the other planes. And some of those are very old planes because it'll say, 1999, 2003. And I'm assuming that they've improved in terms of noise abatement of those planes between, when they were built in the early 2000s and now. So I would just wonder if there are any controls there, because there are a number of different, you see Mustang Sally, you see Christensen Aviation, you see Fox Leasing, and all these planes. I'm wondering if the flight school is essentially leasing them, and if there are any controls on the fact that, when they lease these planes, what are they dealing with? In terms of the quality of the plane itself, in terms of the maintenance, as well as, from a safety perspective, as well as any kind of noise, noise assessment in order to make sure that the planes maybe are quieter. It seems like the Affinity planes tend to be a little bit newer. I have to give them credit for that. Oh, do you? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just noticed, I can tell like Mustang Sally, that particular, whoever's, and there are a number of planes under that particular tag or company or whatever, they tend to be louder. And again, whether it's, no, they're all the same. No, it identifies the plane as well. The majority are the Cessna 172Ss or 172s, or SRSP, I guess I forget, but anyway.
Rob, what's the process to put a muffler on one of these planes?
No.
Really?
Yeah, your big planes get certified, every airline was been certified in. We don't do that quiet, but, they're properly, I'm not aware. I haven't heard of it.
Okay, go ahead. Thanks, Judy. Hmm. Mhm. Hmm. Mhm. Okay.
Well, there's a distance.
Yeah, I suspect most of the noise comes from the propellers, not the engines.
The tips are supersonic, right?
I don't know if they're supersonic, but you know, when you're near a plane, you're not really hearing the engine, you're hearing the propeller.
Yeah.
And
I think you're right.
to add to it, in addition, they could probably cut more noise by, when possible, because every engine can't support it, changing from a 2-blade to a 3-blade propeller where the propellers are shorter. I recall, again, I'm not currently flying, but I recall knowing that or hearing that 3-blade propellers put out less noise than 2-blade propellers. And every engine on every small engine plane can't necessarily change to that, but probably most of them can.
It's interesting. Okay.
Hey, Trenton? Big number.
So they're gonna go what, to the 80 or? Okay. And another issue of concern has been, and we've heard this from a fellow over in New Jersey, is lead poisoning and lead pollution from the leaded gas that they're using. And he had actually paid to get samples taken on the airport side and the opposite side of his house and found higher lead levels. Now he is right in the path. Okay. And so it really would be, going over him every takeoff. And so he's raised those issues about the lead levels. And I think it's been, what county was it that they had looked at the lead levels and the effects on kids in schools, or in San Jose? Okay. So that's another aspect to this that is of concern, especially if they're going from, 5 planes to 40 to, they're going to add another 35. It really will just be nonstop. And so another resident who's been here a bunch of times lives to the south slightly of Yardley. And she gets it a lot, and she's had a lot of helicopter noise. So I guess the flight school also has helicopter. Okay. Okay.
Sixteen thirty-four.
Yeah, so they're not.
It's not that short. Right. It's an eternity to me.
The discussion about the Part 150 got me to relook at the exchange from John Lewis, our supervisor, who talked to Dan Benson over there, the exec. And so they were bringing up the financial issues of it. And there was a question from that John brought up about whether the Delaware Valley RPC can help fund that. And so he was supposed to contact, the, I guess. So, the Benson noted that there would still be costs involved and suggested, so it must be the 10%, that it could line up for DVRPC funding in September. And so he was going to talk to the Bucks County Commissioners about that. So I need to ping John and just see, has he followed up on that? Has he approached the commissioners to see if they would help pay for the Part 150? So glad that came up all.
No, but I heard about it.
I thought you had briefed it. I don't know. I don't want to cross.
No, no.
But they,
Somebody did.
Somebody did bring that up.
it was, I believe it was one of the Trenton Skies
Right.
FOIA requests that, or whatever they call it over there, an Oprah, the open records. And they got proof that they were canceling the voicemails. They were deleting the voicemails. And so, you know, our take on that was, okay, yeah, the politician, with the ombudsman.
That's, again, pre-COVID.
Okay, well, if the ombudsman heard from enough people, then maybe they would start to pay more attention to it, but, because just sending complaints to the, you know, TTN is not necessarily going to get us any further, but they have quit that policy, but it was actually exposed in an Oprah request that they were doing that, and they've since said they're not, right? Is that quarterly or is that? Have you seen any changes in that over the, okay. Because, okay. Oh, how to get it? So that could be a, an assignment for somebody to keep an eye on that. Would you like to, we're going to be thrown out of here in 15 minutes. Would you like to comment on anything or bring up any issues here? You need to come up to the mic, please.
Hit the button to turn on too.
Bean, here we go.
There you go.
Okay, my name is Carrie Hines. I live at 4 Brook Lane. I am in the direct flight path of all the planes. I can sit directly in my backyard and they go directly over me, and it is very loud. To learn that there's going to be so much more traffic is really shocking. And I don't know how to notify enough of our neighborhood on both sides of the river to make them understand, look, it's coming if we don't do anything about this. It's just scary.
Well, we agree. And it's that complacency with how it is now and not understanding what it can become that is the problem. Okay. And so that's what you know, we do a lot of outreach. We do, you know, the WHYY article, whether that will help and get more people to recognize. But, you know, on this, we have 600 or so people look at this recording, you know, each week or each month when we do this. And so we say on here, if you're not happy with what you're seeing from the airport, you know, email the commissioners, email the township, submit complaints to the TTN website, and we brought that up each time, that there's a easy-to-use form from the TTN site itself. And we've got to get that message out. And how to,
My understanding that eventually they're hoping to do this 24/7
I haven't heard that.
after 11 o'clock at night, and I am hearing it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Complaints.
Yes, no, I know. I'm just upstream from you on the flight path. So I do too. And that's where we'd like to see if if the airport manager could actually control these things and say, well, we will have some accommodation to residents or what. And so I think the most important thing would be if you have New Jersey neighbors, we can get them to assemble and go to Board of Commissioners meetings, let them know they're not happy about it because they're voters there and we're not. And so we don't have the sway, but we're doing what we can. So
Wendy, excuse me, are your neighbors aware of your situation? Have they expressed to you their concern as well?
They haven't. I don't see too much of them because
How many people are you in a cul-de-sac or,
just
okay, but so there's been no discussion or you heard neighbors, would that be something you'd be interested in engaging? Share your meeting with us today and ask them if they would participate and let them be aware of what the reality is? Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you very much.
I'm going to call the Parks and Rec Department and see if they're having a community day, and when it is, maybe we should try and put a booth there.
It's Harvest Day, you mean? Or
No.
you mean the community?
Community day
Up
that's
here.
held up here, yeah.
Okay. I haven't heard a date.
I'll call and find out.
Okay.
Rich, one comment. We all spoke about the airport manager.
Mhm.
And a quick look seems to say that she's involved in the management, compliance, regulation and whatnot. And since that's the case, it appears that there's been some egregious missteps, flying late, flying early, not, adhering to the proper procedures, is filing a complaint with her and in turn copying the county commissioners and these governors and the governor-elects and ask for either that she comply or be removed. If she's not doing her job, she's not doing her job. And at the point is, if we can document the fact that there's repeated violations and derogation of her duties, and there's more flights to come in, which would mean even more egregious, someone's got to be there. Although she's well experienced, and I respect the fact, maybe she's not paying attention to what's going on. So
right on the website. Why is that?
all I'm saying is I think maybe the focus can be, as we said, to the elected officials, but since she is directly responsible and those are her duties, and if she's not doing her job, people need to know that.
But she's replaced now, right?
She has
There's a
to?
new one.
Who's that? When did that happen? Okay, so then the answer is, we're expecting you to comply with, and we'll be monitoring of,
Mhm.
and we'd like to meet with you to discuss how in the past, maybe very well be that the removal was as a result of, and I don't know the woman who was replaced, how she was replaced or why.
I doubt it.
I agree. You'll never know anyway. But the point I'm making is now that someone's new, they may have a new ear to listen.
I think that's a good suggestion. Commissioners. Yeah, there's somebody new there. Let's get him to know us. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, this flight school is up. And the hours that Florida flight school, it's a training for us to be able to adopt that. They essentially are closed for training Sundays and holidays, and their hours are quite more restricted than the hours of the Trenton flight school, so could Basically ask for the same courtesy.
You can ask. It'll be a negotiation.
Yeah, well, maybe
I think maybe we can find out how those regulations those rules got put into place in Florida. So we have copies of ordinances, and township next to us has this ordinance, and then we kind of copy and paste it. So if you could find that out, that would be great.
And maybe as part of our discussion with the new manager is to them that we understand whatever the rules were in the past, they're not inconsistent with the change in the community. And what's been working for the flight school in Florida is something we're asking him to look into, adopt and modify accordingly and give him what's out there. Sure.
Okay, I think that's, that's a very good thought. So, we're gonna, we'll press on that. We're gonna look at these FSDOs. Are you familiar with that process, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, they're not coming for something.
But are there,
They're gonna have to, there's an airplane above the house and those flight radar screenshot, this guy was 200 feet above my house. Okay, but Trenton doesn't have the noise abatement rule. Maybe they buried it on the website about hours or something like that. That's not enforceable.
okay,
Which voluntary noise abatement is still better than no noise abatement.
Yep.
Maybe if they published it a little bit more and, get a little more compliance, that's still progress. So we're not totally knocking that, but.
Maybe we can ask him to adopt the rule. In other words, adopt the suggestions, making them to rules.
We haven't obviously been impactful over there.
Well, we don't have,
Yeah.
yeah, we're limited because we don't have the legislative ability, the votes. The people in New Jersey would have that.
I mean, anything we can do to get through.
Yeah.
Get them to do this would be great. Hasn't worked yet, but I mean, yeah, keep trying different angles. to
a new person in, maybe that's a break. Yeah,
Minor point, but just to mention it, all general aviation planes don't necessarily run on leaded fuel. Many GA engines have been certified to run on the same gasoline we use in the car. So I don't know what they're using, but you don't necessarily assume that they're all spewing out lead.
okay. Judy, do you know any more about the fuels or what they're using there? Okay.
Right?
It could be, but there are engines that have been certified for 87 octane. I don't know what they have, but, and I mean, that's going back a while too, so that's not new.
Okay.
And are they all Cessnas that they have? I don't know their fleet. Some other brands like Cirrus.
Diamond.
Yeah, those I think use regular. unleaded.
172s.
Me too,
Yeah.
casually, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll type up minutes, circulate them to everybody, and we'll just try to approve them electronically, and then, I'll send them into the township. I'll try to capture these thoughts, and we'll work amongst ourselves to come up with some action items of who sent the letters where. And you said the community day. Anything else, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Done.
All right. Well, it's 5-0, and the Democrats are going to be storming in here any minute. So it's the Democrats' night.
Okay.
They have a Republican every other week. I think they have,
Are you kidding?
they
Okay.
have a Democrats' night and then they have a Republicans' night. So I don't know what they do, but,
I think I'll stick,
Where's the beer?
you're going to stay? I'm gonna.
Beer with this?
probably through me.
All right. So we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. New manager. Yeah.